What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I have special guest Magic MMA on with me. It's almost like my one of his fanboys, I think. And I'm kind of happy to have him on here. So, just a little bit of an introduction for those of you that don't know. I mean, the DFS world is a lot different from the betting world. So, in DFS, one of the basic tenets is to just accept that the lines in all the sports are accurate and make projections accordingly and try to produce lineups, just assuming there's really no edge in messing with the line so much, where betting is the exact opposite. I mean, you presume that you can get some kind of edge somewhere. And when I do DFS, I always wanted to try to do a little bit better than to just be a good projection maker, a good lineup person, see if there was some kind of edge that I can kind of have. And with UFC, I myself was watching, when Magic did his podcast with Andrew for so long, I was trying to get some extra takes and some extra edge by watching these guys. And listen, not that I know everybody in the industry, to say the least, but of all the people I know, I mean, this guy is one of the best. I mean, he's very, very sharp. He doesn't play what everybody else plays. And what I like to do is invest in my business, and I invest in my DFS business I actually do, just full disclosure, I actually pay for Magic's picks, so that, again, just so that I can get some kind of edge in my DFS analysis. I really rarely even bet on the fight straight up. And what I like about accessing his picks is he is in Spain, so he can't even play DFS. So his takes are very, very pure. Like he's completely on a betting angle, where I found that some people that play both DFS and betting, they get all biased and they kind of like tailor their things to certain things. Like, well, I want to bet this, but then I don't want to affect my DFS stuff. What I like about him is he's really just focusing on betting. So I can just kind of like take his information and kind of filter it. And I've had a lot of success doing it. I mean, I don't even know really how many units he's up, down, or whatever since I've been doing it, because I don't really just directly bet what he bets. I literally just take his takes and apply them to DFS. And I'm going to give you one example, just one that happened recently. And the DFS people will appreciate this more than the betting people. But maybe 2 or 3 cards ago, Kelly Fernandez was he was scheduled to fight. I think it was Faris Ziem, and he was priced as a 3-1 underdog because he was scheduled to fight Faris Ziem. But that fight fell apart, and he was rescheduled against that dude coming over from Britain, I think. And who is he?
Harry Hardwick.
Right. And because the way DFS works, they couldn't change the pricing. So you ended up with Fernandez as priced as a 3-1 underdog, but he was actually a 2-1 favorite. Okay. So in DFS, what that usually means is he's a great play, but what also means that everybody's going to play him. So what you do when everybody's trying to play a guy is to try to make an excuse to not play him. So the buzz during the week was that, you know what, he looks like a great price for the money line, obviously, but he didn't seem, according to the DFS industry, to have too much upside. Like the inside the distance line was really, really weak. And the thought in the industry was, you know what, he's going to go for his leg kicks. And when you have a guy that's just going to go for leg kicks, they usually don't score all that much in DFS. So there was this kind of growing thing with DFS players that it was a good fade because he was going to be very, very popular. And even if he won, he wasn't going to be, he wasn't going to really score well. So I went and I looked at my normal, usually Friday, Magic sends his stuff out, and I looked through it. And the first thing I noticed, like a really weird pick, in like my opinion, was Kelly Fernandez, like inside the distance. And to me, I'm like, well, that seems like a really not strange pick, but like even though I know the way Magic usually bets anyway, I mean, it would seem like kind of a weird one to come up with. But for me, I'm like, you know what? If he's on Fernandez literally inside the distance, I mean, that to me kind of wipes out all of my fade tendencies. And so I ended up going all in. And you even look more at his analysis. It wasn't do much analysis, but even on his X account, he was saying, you know what? He's going to chop his legs down. He's going to kick him till the guy can't stand anymore. And he's going to take him down. That's exactly what happened. And it was very, very helpful to me. So that's like just one example of the things that happened. One other thing about him, I'll shout him out. He also, for those of you who don't know, he was on Ilya Taporia before it was cool. Okay. he was on Fluffy before it was cool. He was on Malkoun before it was cool. He was certainly on Benoit Saint Denis before it was cool. And was really, really confident about him in his last fight. The one thing I do want to call you out on, I was very, very upset about this, is because, again, I'm used to kind of the brand of your type of picks. And when you had Matthews against Magny, all I was waiting for was was seeing in Magic's head, we're going to get into the swamp. We're going to get into the swamp, and Magny's going to take him into the swamp. And I was all ready for this. And then when he said, he liked Matthews by submission, I'm like, what is he talking about? Like Magny's his brand. But then after the fights were over, I knew that he was going to complain about how bad he ran. Okay, because there were a lot of fights that he ran bad. There was no fight that he ran worse than in the Matthews by sub prop. He was minus 1,000 to get that sub 7 different times in the first 2 rounds. So that was actually really amazing when he would go against what I thought would be his natural instinct and be just so right, within 1 percentage point. So that's pretty much my what do the kids call it? That's my glaze, I guess, of Magic, and I'm just kind of happy to kind of have him on here. And what we're gonna do, again, could be a train wreck. I mean, who knows? But we're going to go through the card, and I'm just gonna get his opinion, and I'm gonna weave in what we're expecting from a DFS perspective and see if we can't put the 2 disciplines together in some way. Now, again, as far as promotion goes, I do pay for his stuff, and I'll leave you guys to reach out to him on his X account for more details on that. But yeah, so there's that. Okay, so first fight, Veronica Hardy versus Brogan Walker. Why don't you tell me first what you think about this one?
Yeah, I assume the price is prohibitive on Macedo on DraftKings, right? Because she's a massive favorite, and I assume it's going regarding the scoring point system, which I am kind of familiar with because some people have asked me about this before. I assume it's going to be almost impossible for her to cover it unless he's finishing in round 1. And a Macedo round 1 finish is predicated on a random submission from bottom or a head kick or something like that. So I will say this is a no-go for your business.
Yeah, and even for your business, I mean, you like anything betting-wise here, or is it just Hardy by decision like everybody else?
I mean, if doesn't go the distance is really huge, or Macedo by submission is really huge, maybe, but if not, it's just a pass. I mean, Veronica Macedo shouldn't be minus 900 against anyone, but Brogan Walker is really bad.
Okay, so you don't think that there's real value in even in the Hardy by sub or Hardy inside the distance, just kind of some women's fight?
If it's around plus 500, something like that, yeah, maybe. Okay. It's looking like a pass.
Yeah, so it's a pass. It's a pass in DFS. It's probably a pass betting wise, I guess. Also, so the Vanderford Brahimaj fight is one of the fights that is going to probably get a lot of holy war, I guess. Maybe not in DFS. So what everybody's going to be talking about is Vanderford, because whenever you get this guy who's just coming off of a fight where he got takedowns and he got a finish and things like that, these are the types of guys that end up really, really well played in DFS, and especially when his inside the distance line is really weak. His inside the distance line is only plus 200, and at his price tag, he's completely unplayable unless he's going to do the same thing he did last time. And Brahimaj is a guy that I've heard of. You know what I mean? He's been around. He's knocked people out or whatever it is. Is this one of those things where Vanderford is just kind of beat someone really bad in his last fight? We're going to talk about the guy who he beat in a minute. But what do you think about this fight?
I think the line is wide. Brahimaj, his wins are predicated on early finishes most of the time, or all the time, because he's a guy that gets a sloppy kind of gas. It's not great defense, but he's a capable grappler, and he has a very, very dangerous front choke series. He attacks the back well. So Vanderford is kind of a wilter, you know what I mean? He's a good hammer, but a horrible nail. I think the value is on Brahimaj, and for DraftKings, I assume Brahimaj is really cheap, and if he wins, it's going to be a huge score because it's probably a first round finish. 70 or 80% of his win equity is going to be an early finish.
Yep. And I actually did my DFS preview yesterday, and I specifically didn't send it to you. And just you guys know, for disclosure, we didn't talk about any of the fights beforehand. Okay. We're just kind of going through this first time, because I don't want anybody to be biased, or either of us be biased of what the other one was thinking kind of going through this. And that's sort of what I talked about yesterday, was that Brahimaj, I mean, listen, I don't know if he's going to win or not, but if he does win, it's probably going to involve some kind of finish. And so I thought he had a lot of upside here. But this Vanderford, had you heard of him before his last fight, or was that the first time you saw him?
No, I have watched him before. He was a usual fighter in Bellator. He had not hype, but he was a well-known fighter because he is the husband of Paige Van Zandt. You know her. She was in the UFC before. The
Mhm.
blonde girl that is now doing I don't know what. I think
Okay.
she's in Power Slap. But yeah, she was really famous, and they were dating, and then they got married. So Vanderford was a known fighter, and he's been fighting in Bellator before. And he's not great, but he's just. I mean, he can hang in the UFC. You know what I mean? He's probably going to be one of these guys that goes 3-4 for a couple years.
It's funny because I looked at him when I was just doing listen, I don't have the time to tape anybody, whatever it is. But I just saw that before he had his layoff, I mean, he got knocked out in the first round 2 fights in a row, like in Bellator. So I'm like, how good
Yeah,
can that be? You know, like, I
but
don't know.
that was against. I mean, the Aaron Jeffery loss in round one was. I bet Jeffery in that fight, but it was quite surprising that he got stopped that early. The Musashi fight, I mean, it was a levels fight. Gegard Musashi was levels above him. But yeah, this is a very interesting fight. It's probably going to be a fun fight to watch too.
Okay, we're going to get to some of these questions at the end. I'm really excited about that also. So, Brunelli Soriano versus Nikolai Veretennikov. He's the guy that took the Vanderford beating. So again, just so you know from DFS, there's going to be like 3 or 4 fighters that are very well priced relative to their inside the distance line. So like here's something that, again, if you ever played DFS, you'd be interested in, is that whenever you're about like a $9,000 as far as price, you need to have about a -110 inside the distance line to be a good play. That's the kind of what you're looking for. And when you have a -110 inside the distance line with a price under 9K, you're considered a really, really good play. And one of them, who I skipped the chase on 5, we'll get to in a minute, is Soriano. So Soriano is his inside the distance line is about -110, which makes him strong anyway at 8,800. And also, I don't know if this is a normal thing, but he has shown some wrestling sometimes. So if he does that, it's like extra upside. And as I mentioned, Veretennikov just got dusted by Vanderford. So Soriano's going to be probably a kind of a popular play. Like, but what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, if Soriano wins, it's going to be either a first round brutal knockout bonk or a grappling display where he gets takedowns and mauls him. Beretnikov is a weird guy. He's not even close to elite, but he can hang. He's durable. He's willing to fight. On the feet, he's a serviceable striker, goes to the body. And Soriano is a guy that doesn't have a great gas tank, and he's not really a functional striker in the sense of he's not going to throw 50 strikes around. He's more of a power guy, big left hand, kind of a one-trick pony. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Soriano maybe just grapples him easily and looks -1,000, but if he cannot do it and he doesn't finish early, it's going to get dicey for him late.
So to teach you like lesson 1B about, or maybe it's more like 3B about DFS, whenever, and this is something that I teach people all the time, it doesn't exactly apply to Soriano, but whenever there's a fighter with incredible metrics that's like extraordinarily well priced, that is a big favorite to finish when he wins and things like that, it's always a good idea to think about whether the other fighter is playable also, because if you can get leverage against what's going to be a very popular fighter, that's really, really strong. So when we talk about these popular guys that I mentioned, it's really important to emphasize whether these, underdogs, like against them, are somewhat playable also. So like, for example, like if you like Brogan Walker, it wouldn't be particularly useful because no one's going to play Veronica Hardy anyway, okay, because her metrics are so weak. But if we did, for some reason, like Veretennikov, that would be like a really, really good leverage play because Soriano looks really, really strong.
Yeah, I don't think Beretnikov is going to win, but I get that maybe you are not interested in playing Soriano because maybe he wins a kind of dual 29-28 type decision or 30-27 type decision with a lot of top time and not really that much activity, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't think he justifies his price if he finishes, and I don't know if he does even finishing. Will have to be round 1, right?
Soriano can get there if he gets like takedowns and then finishes him in round 2, but and then if he doesn't get the finish in round 2, then you'd actually prefer him to not finish at all. then you're hoping that he like takes him down like 6 times, gets all kinds of top time,
Top time gets you points too, right?
Yep, top time. And if you really want to be, I mean, like the perfect example is like Marab and Fluffy, because they not only get takedowns and not
They
only the
stay on
top
top.
time, but they also get grounded. They also get activity. Like, so those are the, as
Yeah,
opposed to,
that's a very possible scenario that Soriano gets 10, 12 minutes of top time.
yep. So that's a very, very strong play. Now, speaking of which, we skipped over a fight, the Macy Chason versus Yana Santos fight. And again, when I just kind of looked at it, I'm like, you know what? Chason is, if she wins, it's probably going to be from takedowns. Maybe that's good enough to score well enough. I'm not sure. So figured I would ask you about this fight. I mean, do you have any opinion here or anything?
Yeah, I hate Kiason. She's the worst. She has no real ability other than being big and being built like a male teenager. I don't know if she's transitioning or what. This should be illegal. I think Santos has to be the side because Kiason wins fights when he's having a car accident in there and just out physicaling other girls. You know what I mean? And in this fight, I expect Diana Santos to win the clinch. She's a very strong fighter and has a very good clinch. It's going to be probably an ugly fight. I have no bet on it and I have not much interest.
So let me ask you a follow up on that. In the Santos wins, I mean, because she doesn't have, I mean, her inside the distance line is like plus a million, right? It wouldn't probably be a big volume win either. It would just be that she defends the takedowns and, like you said, gets kind of an ugly striking based clinch win.
I mean, he can punch a little bit, but I don't know if I see her stopping Kiason.
Makes sense. All right, so we have, this isn't Fighting Nerds. This is the other one, right? This is the the shoot the box, right?
Yeah, shoot
the
the box.
box. Like every even in DFS, like these camps become like really, really popular and everybody plays them all the time.
Unlimited gas.
Yeah, they play the Fighting Nerds all the time. They played who was the guy that got suspended for fixing the fights? The trainer last year.
James Krause.
Yeah, for like a year, everybody just played all the James Krause guys. Like this is what DFS people do. They just play people blindly. And there's a shoot the box run where everybody played all the shoot the box people. But so now you have Santos versus Jung Yu, and what's interesting about this one is the pricing. So you have these fights that are very, very close in money line, which means they're going to be very, very close in pricing. So you have 7,900, 8,300, and those fights, Magic, are usually very valuable in DFS. So what happens is if you have one of these fights that looks really good, that has a huge inside the distance line that is going to finish like all the Drew Dober fights, like the Frivola fights, like all these guys are always picking fights, and someone's going to take each other's head off. Everybody's going to play these fights and whatever, it's easy. But you sometimes have these fights that don't really have that great inside the distance lines, like this one. Like this one really doesn't. Like neither one is better than I think plus 250 or so as far as an inside the distance line. But with this pricing, you got to give it a little bit of a break because it's because it makes the rest of your lineup so much easier to make. So in these types of fights, usually if you can find upside that is not being priced into the market, these are really, really good fights to target. So like, for example, like I haven't seen what you liked yet at all, but if this were one where if I looked at your sheet and it said Santos inside or you inside or fight doesn't go, like this, that would be like a fight that would give me a lot of extra edge. But with that said, I mean, what do you think about this fight?
This has turned into a very weird spot because Santos moved up for his last fight from 135 to 145 on short notice, and he looked amazing. He had unlimited gas on short notice. Shoot the box doctor is a legend. He won against a dangerous fighter, and now he's facing this Korean prospect who looks like possibly a good prospect, like good striker, but he has fought bad people, and the line has been going back and forth, flipped a couple times already, I think. Santos was interesting here, but then this fight has become a 153 catch weight because Santos couldn't make 145. So this is starting to get a little bit crazy. Like he moved a division and now cannot make the weight by 8 pounds. So I don't think I'm touching this fight. This just has turned. I don't know.
Does
I
it
don't know
feel,
what to expect. Maybe you bet Santos because my initial thought was Santos is a good striker and can grapple here and has a lot of gas, and the other guy is unproven. So it's very interesting. Maybe he melts him down the stretch. But now I don't know if Santos is really in shape or anything. because it's a very or injured, because it's a very weird situation that you move up and you need a notch 8 pounds allowance after moving up to make weight. That makes no sense. So something's wrong here.
Patchy mix against a guy whose name I can't pronounce, the Wicklads. So there's been a couple of guys over the last like 6 months that have come over from other promotions and either really threw a bad fight in and then followed up with a good one, or threw a couple of bad ones in a row. Like when Pitbull came in, like he threw up a real bad one, then was better, and then the most recent guy, Aaron whatever. I mean, he against Lerone Murphy, he was that was one of the more fun train wrecks like I've seen. And now you have this Patchy Mix who he had a lot of hype, I guess, coming. He had a lot of hype coming in his first fight, and they made him a favorite over Mario Batista. Now, again, looking back, it's easy to say, right? Like, it's like, how could they make him a favorite over Mario Batista? He got outstruck or whatever. But what was interesting from a DFS perspective is the reason why people were playing him was they really thought that he was going to be going for a lot of takedowns and a lot of wrestling and things like that. And I actually missed this fight. So I didn't actually see, I just see like it was a real striking based fight where he did get off 122 significant strikes. And Mario Batista, I mean, I guess he's no joke. And
It's a good fight.
now he's getting obviously a huge step down. Maybe you can talk about who this guy is. But from a DFS perspective at 9K, I mean, he's got to either like get a pretty early finish or decide that he's going to go to that wrestling like in a heavy way. So that's the thing about these guys that you're not 100% sure goes to wrestling is you need like that parlay. He's got to, one, decide to go to the wrestling, and then two, it actually works, So what do you think of Patchy Mix? Have you ever heard of this other guy? How do you think this fight's going to go?
Yeah, the thing about Patchy Mix is a fantastic ground fighter, great jiu-jitsu, great finisher on the ground, but his wrestling is average. So when he has issues taking the fight down, it turns into really close fights or he looks stupid. And he had a lot of hype coming from Bellator and from PFL, but Bautista is a really good fighter. He just kept the fight on the feet and lit him up, basically. And this guy is the KSB champion. I don't know if you are familiar with the promotion. It's an European promotion. I mean, this is not a bad fighter. This is a good fighter.
Really?
The problem is he likes to grapple, and I don't know if he has the grappling accolades to not get instantly guillotined or something. So I guess this is going to either be a fight where the line looks stupid and it's actually close, or Patchy Mix gets a guillotine in round one and everybody's like, oh, this was so obvious, I'm a genius. So I guess it's a tricky one for you to play DraftKings, I think.
So it's interesting, though. So Whitglass is the guy that will kind of entertain a grappling.
After watching Mix last fight, I assume this other guy, if he has a brain, he's going to want to keep it standing because on the feet, he's mediocre.
Okay. Okay, so we have Gautier. When I did my video yesterday, literally in the middle of the video, I was told that it was that he got a replacement fighter. He was going to fight Ozzy Diaz, and like so. Here's some context. Okay, he's 9,800 on a card with 14 fights. For him to be now, I guess I'll put it to you this way: for him to be a good play at 9,800, just because of pricing, he is going to need one of two things: either a whole bunch of underdogs come in and very few favorites, or he's going to need literally to win in the first 60 seconds because there's something called a quick win bonus that if you win in the first 60 seconds, it's worth a pretty decent amount. So he's going to need a combination of a knockdown and a win within 60 seconds to pay off his price tag. And even that might not even be enough. So I guess my question is, like, what chance do you think that is of happening? Like this guy's, is it possible he can run away for 60 seconds? I mean, what's going on in this fight?
Yeah, it's possible he runs, but I don't know. This is a public execution, honestly. Like the under 1.5 is like minus 1,000 already or something like that. Under 1.5. And the guy doesn't have a good chin. He has lost by knockout 3 times in the regionals against average people. This looks like if Gautier touches him just once, he's going to get folded like a chair.
What do you think the under a half is? Probably even money?
No way. Under a half, it's probably like minus 300. There is no way it's even money. Absolutely no way.
Under a half. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Oh, it doesn't even have it here. Okay, I'd have to find. Well, under 1.5, like you said, is like minus like 700 or something like that. That's pretty awesome.
I guess it's just going to depend on how Gautier feels. You know what I mean? Sometimes fighters can go out there and just kind of walk the octagon for a minute.
Just kind of showboat a little bit.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Just show the jab, do nothing. But maybe he goes after him and it's over in 17 seconds.
Yep. Okay, so Joe Pyfer against Abus Magomedov. This is another one of the fights that has somebody who's priced very, very well for his metrics. So you have Pyfer, who's 87, 8,800, and if you see his inside the distance line is minus 115. So that's usually considered a very, very strong price, especially for someone under 9K. So the way you analyze in DFS is, okay, he looks really, really strong. And he's obviously a good play. So naturally, you look at the underdog, and you look at the underdog at Abus. Just his metrics, his inside the distance line is poor. But again, this is the way we analyze it, or I analyze it. And you can tell me how you come in with this. But then I'll look and I'll see that he has fights where he had 4 takedowns and 6 takedowns. So if in fact he wins, he could be very live to score well. So from a DFS perspective, it's kind of standard to say, you know what, just kind of take both sides of this. But if you think, for example, that, Abus is never going to get him to the ground for openers, or if you think, something else about the way this fight's going to go, there could be a little bit of edge there. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, Pyfer has been overpriced in every fight he's had in the UFC because he's a big guy for the division and a big puncher. But when his fights go past 5 minutes, he doesn't really have that much in terms of skill or intelligence. He's a really dumb guy too. And Abus is the first fighter that is kind of his size, has power too, it's long, he's relatively fast. And if this goes past 5 minutes, there is a very good chance that Magomedov gets takedowns here. He has more grit in him and he's a better grappler. I think he's the side at these odds, clearly. Betting wise, for DraftKings, I don't know. I guess you
don't worry about the DraftKings. I'll take care of that. No, it's perfect. Perfect. You're doing great. You're absolutely you're making us a fortune. Okay. Okay. So Josh Emmett versus Youssef Zalal. I'm just waiting to go on your podcast again and try to hear that dude recommend Josh Emmett for the 37th time in a row. The Guga or whatever his name is. Yeah, that was one of my biggest scorers. There's a lot going on, but when Topuria beat him a couple of summers ago, that was really big for me. I made the live final in Jacksonville, which unfortunately I was unable to go due to a death in the family. So I actually had to put in my lineups from where I was in New York, and I needed him in that. I needed Topuria to put on a decent win to get to cash for a decent amount. And it looked as though he was kind of toying with him for a little while there. And it took him to he was obviously well ahead the whole time, but I need a few more points. And finally, in the 4th and 5th round, he got the takedowns or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So in this one, you have Zalal, who again, he's 9,400. So at 9,400, again, it's not enough to get a win. He's got to, either get a first round finish or a combination of takedowns, ground strikes, all kinds of stuff. And the way I looked at it in DFS is in their wins. There's no way Emmett does not score well if he wins. If it's the 22% of the time that he wins this fight or whatever it is, he's probably going to knock his head off. This is the way I looked at it. And Zalal, though, the way I analyzed it is there are just zillions of outcomes where he wins and it's freaking boring and he just owns Emmett the whole time and just doesn't score all that much. But what do you think of Zalal Emmett here?
Yeah, Zalal is minus 500 territory already. This is getting a little bit out of hand, but I kind of get it. Josh Emmett is talking about how he's in the best shape of his life and everything, but guy is 40 years old. Yeah, he's a big puncher, but I don't know, man. But you cannot go Zalal minus 500 betting wise. It's a lot for a 3-rounder against a big puncher.
Yep.
Also, a big factor in this fight could be the leg kicks because Zalal is a good kicker and throws knees up the middle, which Emmett is susceptible to. And Emmett doesn't take leg kicks well. He takes it back. Honestly, lately it's there comes a point where it seems that not only the chin of fighters but the legs cannot take it anymore. You know what I mean? It was very apparent, for example, with Anthony Smith lately in
Yep.
his career, that he will get leg kicked twice and his leg would be
What was
gone.
that fight against Johnny Walker, right? Johnny Walker was just tapping his leg, it seemed like, the whole time, and he just couldn't walk after
Yeah,
6 minutes.
me personally, I like the under here. I think it's too big, and you kind of cover a lot of scenarios. If Talal wins a decision, it's probably pick and move for 3 rounds. But I think it's going to be a violent fight.
You think it's gonna be a violent fight, so you think that it's possible? I'm trying to think of ways to play Zalal, because the only way you could get there is leg kick followed by knockdowns or multiple takedowns and finishes. See, the thing is, Magic, it's not just that he's 9,400. It's he's 9,400 on a fight that has 14, on a card that has 14 fights. Like, if there was a 12-fight card, if I knew somebody was going to score decently, no problem. But he's got all these guys to compete against, so it's going to be kind of difficult. All right, let's go on to kind of the fun fights. Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree. You have, I mean, this is probably gonna be fun. Like, Prochazka just doesn't mind, like, getting hit. You know, he just comes right out there, and he gets hit every freaking fight. But I guess he just doesn't feel it. You know, I guess he just has that thing, or whatever you said. You know, just doesn't really mind. Almost like welcomes it and embraces it. And Khalil Roundtree, I mean, I have to say that, you know, a couple of fights ago against Pereira, he took, like, I mean, he looked good for a little, then he took so much freaking punishment. I couldn't believe that the person could take, like, so much freaking punishment. And then in his last fight against Jamal Hill, he basically just kind of wanted to get the win. You know, he was doing fine, and he just got the win. And then Jamal Hill just kind of, like, tried to call him out. But it's always funny, like, the guys that are behind always get mad that the guys that are ahead, like, won't, you know, pull up Max Holloway and slug it out in the middle. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a really, really good fight as far as DraftKings go, as far as the metrics. I mean, everybody's sort of expecting something really big to happen here, one way or the other. And I think people are going to play both sides of this. So why don't you just give your opinion on if you like any side in particular, or how you think this fight's going to go?
I think if this goes past 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, I don't have a timestamp in mind really, but if Jiri can get his flow going, you know what I mean, when he starts bouncing and he looks like he entered the matrix randomly, and
Yeah.
that's it, he wins. But early, Khalil is obviously dangerous. He has a Muay Thai stance. He's a very powerful kicker, kicks legs, which is a problem for Jiri. Jiri is very susceptible to leg kicks. He just takes them. He ignores the leg kick, which is one of the best possible defenses for leg kicks in MMA, in my opinion, just ignoring them, acting like it's not happening.
Yep.
And he's a big puncher. I wouldn't be surprised if Jiri goes down maybe a couple times during the fight. And he just keeps going, and I think he has a huge edge in mental strength. The guy is like an actual samurai. He's insane. He's out of his mind. And Khalil is kind of a mental midget. So if he can get it going 6-7 minutes and his flow is going, he's starting to touch him up, I think he's just going to end up breaking him mid to late. But Khalil is very life early. I think the price is more or less justified.
Well, it's interesting. So if it's Khalil early, I mean, I think it's pretty in line with DFS sort of. I mean, you probably want to play both sides of this. I mean, both sides are in play, because if Roundtree wins, it's probably going to be early. And
Yeah, or a finish, because Jiri is not going to fuck off. You know what I mean? There
Yeah.
are fighters that get hit or get leg kicked very hard, and maybe then Khalil goes to a shitty decision because the other guy is scared or hurting. Jiri is not going to do that. Jiri is going to be in his face until one of them breaks.
Okay, so now this is you have two fights that are 5-round fights, and the way, unfortunately or fortunately, the way DraftKings scoring works, if you give a fight 5 rounds to work with, they have a natural floor where everybody's going to project higher. So what happens is, whenever there's a 5-round fight, you know, there's a lot of ownership and a lot of people playing both sides of these. So these are, and when you have 2 fights that are 5-round fights, usually what happens is people identify one of them as the one to play, because they don't want to get too chalky and play both of them. But there are some 5-round fights even that are between guys that just really don't rate to score all that well. So when I spoke with you on the phone a couple of weeks ago, I used Izzy as an example. Like, for those people that play DFS, like I don't think they've ever played Izzy in DFS. He's literally the worst DFS player to play because he just doesn't take anybody down. He doesn't really finish anybody, and even in 5 rounds, he doesn't really score all that well, and everybody always plays him. On the other hand, and we're going to go like one at a time, this co-main event, this Merab Corey fight. I mean, there's in the DFS world, like there's literally no way that this thing doesn't score. Because first of all, Merab is everybody. He's like he's DFS porn. You know what I mean? Like he literally like whenever he wins, he scores like through the roof. With the only exception being like the one opponent that he wouldn't be able to take down 30 times, and that would be Jose Aldo. Okay, like in the Aldo fight, he won a kind of a boring decision because Aldo doesn't get taken down by anybody. But literally every other fight that he's in, that he just scores through the freaking roof. He's fluffy before fluffy. You know what I mean? He's just insane. I mean, and now that he's fighting 5-round fights, it's just ridiculous. Like his fight against Piotr Yan and some others. I mean, we're talking about 200 like fantasy points. So he's going to be the most popular fighter on the slate. And as I always say, if you have someone who's the most popular fighter on the slate, you have to consider playing the other guy. Like even if you had no opinion like on this fight at all, you would look and you'd see, okay, Corey Sandhagen, even if you believe the line is accurate, he's going to win this fight 22% of the time. And the 22% of the time he's going to win, I mean, he's gonna get there at 6,900. So I always recommend to play kind of both sides of this. So normally what people do is they'll do like market weight. They'll go like 75% Merab, 25% Corey Sandhagen or something like that. Do you have any other, any, I would say unique, but what do you think of this one? It's obviously going to be crazy pace.
I have heard of this type of fights on DraftKings. So this is the type of fight where a lot of people are going to play the guy that they think is going to lose, even because it's cheap, right? Because it's expected to go long and it's a volume puncher and he throws volume and he is good at existing. He's not going to get finished, allegedly. So yeah, I think Merab is going to be a popular play for you, right? Not for you, but for people.
He's going to be the most popular play on the slate by like a huge gap, actually.
So if Sandhagen wins, the people that are actually on Sandhagen are going to clean house, basically.
They're going to do great.
Yeah, I think this is the most difficult stylistic matchup for Merab in the division. I think it's much closer than the line indicates. At this point, I don't care what people think. At this point, it's undeniable that Merab has proved himself as the best bantamweight in the world and in UFC history, really, because the guy has a mix of wrestling, pace, volume, and durability that is just very difficult to match. But the styles make fights. Merab is not a guy that takes the back. And Corey Sandhagen is great at popping up, keeping the flow going, keeping the action going. He's a great striker. He's skill-wise, he's better than Merab at literally everything except pure wrestling. He's very good at cutting people up with elbows. I mean, I can see this fight going in a lot of ways. Merab is going to be the one establishing the pace and getting the fight where he wants, but Corey is going to compete in every phase of the fight. I think he has a lot of finishing upside, and honestly, I think he's going to win the fight.
So the way we would probably deal with that, if someone actually had an opinion on Corey Sandhagen, is you could play 50% of both because you'll be ahead of the market. You'll be ahead of the market on Sandhagen. And again, as you very astutely figured out, like without even ever having played DFS, is if everybody's going to be on one side, if the other side wins, that people play that are going to be cleaning up, and especially exclusively and especially when that guy's going to score well, and there's just no way Corey Sandhagen wins like a slow-paced, boring decision that doesn't score well at his price. So, and without getting into it, based on our conversation last week, I'm not sure that the Merab camp is too excited about this matchup either.
No, it's a difficult matchup for him. I mean, Sandhagen, if we are ignoring the, I don't know how to call this, the intangibles in sense of pure pace and motor and hardware Merab has, if we are talking style matchup, skills, etc., it's all wrong for him. It's literally all wrong for him. He's the one that has to force the fight, that has to initiate grappling, that has to take chances because Sandhagen is fine at range here. He can Just be chilling at range, kick his leg, touch him up, jab. It's Merab the one who has to propose things, and he will. This is going to be a high-paced fight. This is a great fight. It's one of the best fights that can be made in the UFC right now, in my opinion. I like the under too. I think this is going to be a great pace aggression fight by both, because Merab is how he fights and doesn't really have another option. He's talking about finishing fights now too. The under is huge. It's 5 rounds. Great fight.
So in the main event, you have kind of the opposite. You have a matchup which scheduled to go 5 rounds, but it very well could be like the last one. And we'll get into that. And the last one was a 5-round based decision which totally busted. Like if you played Ankalaev in that matchup, you didn't get there. That's just not enough points. What people were expecting was Ankalaev to go for takedowns and get them in his wins. Like people were expecting that if Pereira won, he'd get a knockout, and if Ankalaev won, he was going to get takedowns. And it turns out that Ankalaev basically kept him off his ass and basically didn't have to get back up like the whole fight and won a pretty. I mean, I don't know what your opinion was. I thought it was pretty clear that he won. I heard some people claim that Pereira. I can't imagine. But in any case, what I want to ask you about this, I get a little opinion on how betting markets work. Because this is I hear this a lot. And listen, Andrew's obviously a freaking wizard, right? So I've heard him say this too. Something about this logic doesn't make sense to me though. So why don't you talk me through this? So this is what people will say. They'll say, okay, so Pereira was minus 105. It was pick'em last fight. And now Ankalaev is a minus 265. How is that possible? And they say, well, if you were willing to bet Pereira at even money, why wouldn't you bet him at plus 200? And I get that, but the way I kind of think about it is a little differently. I mean, now you just have more information than you had before, and maybe he should be a favorite. Maybe he should be plus 265, but I guess I'll just kind of leave it to you, like what you think of the fight, how you think it's going to go, and then I guess I'll get back to that.
Yeah, I get what you are saying. I mean, it's obvious. It's an obvious point of view or reasoning of how to approach the fight in the sense of market or pricing or how the market has developed. But I think the price is justified. I think it was wrong the first fight.
Right.
And the way people were looking at that fight was like, which they were wrong, and a lot of us were right in that sense that they were like, oh, Poatan, Pereira, is going to dominate the striking. He's fine at range. He can kick the legs. He's the better striker. He's a huge puncher. Blah blah blah. And Ankalaev needs takedowns to win this. That was the common narrative coming into the first fight. And Ankalaev, who is a really good technical striker, was just fine on the feet. He had some issues with leg kicks, which should be Pereira's game plan here, should be centered about leg kicks. But other than that, Ankalaev was winning the boxing exchanges. He's a really good technical striker. And he hurt Pereira at one point. He was winning the fight doing that. And then in round 4, he decided to start cage pushing. Not even getting takedowns, but cage pushing. And he controlled the whole fight, round 4, round 5, with no issues, really. So he proved himself the superior fighter in basically every phase of the game. He's younger. Pereira got hurt in the first fight, and he didn't even get takedowns. What happens if he gets on top? If he gets on top, Pereira is going to get mauled. So yeah, I think the line is fine. Well, I understand why people are betting Pereira at this price if they are, but the line just keeps moving the other way.
Well, let me ask you it this way then. So if you're Ankalaev, not if you're Ankalaev, do you think that Ankalaev got away with? He won that fight pretty much easily, I guess, without having and getting any takedowns. And quite honestly, like every time he went for a takedown, it really, Pereira, obviously he was working on it, and he really didn't get much success of it. But my question is he what kind of fight is Ankalaev going to put on? Is he even going to bother going for takedowns? And I ask that only because if he's not going to, I'm not going to play him in DFS.
Yeah, that's the thing. The problem is you cannot know because Ankalaev is autistic. He's like 72 IQ or so. Like there is no way this guy has more than 75 IQ. He's completely daft, just a great athlete, great wrestler, great fighter. There is a scenario where he gets an early takedown. I don't know how, maybe a single leg or something, and it snowballs into an absolute mauling. And there is a scenario where the fight is a repeat of the first fight. And even then, he probably can cover the price.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to take a look at any of these. So Here's a good question, I guess. Ryan Hall is asking, Chase on Wade in big. How quickly does this info make it into the market, and does the markets officially value it? Why don't you give a little bit of a lesson? Like how do you deal with missing weight? Because I've heard it argued different ways. I've heard you miss weight, you're completely out of shape, or the other is you missed weight, so you're bigger and you're kind of tougher.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, the fight, the style matchup. You can really know. I could make up something and pretend that I have a theory on how this works all the time, and I would be lying. This is not the NFL. Like, oh, Nick Bosa is questionable. If he plays, it's going to be obviously a diminished Nick Bosa. But
Right.
here, I don't know. Maybe it serves her well. Maybe she didn't want to like push it to really make weight, and she's like, oh, I cannot make weight. I need a catch weight. Maybe she's injured and cannot make the weight, which is the case in a lot of situations where fighters are missing weight. Maybe she's just too big. Maybe she did actually suffer to make the weight, so you cannot know it. Being a women's fight that is going to be clinch heavy, unless she is injured, I will say it favors her. But I think this year fighters that have missed weight are down horribly.
You know
I
what?
think
You guys all failed, by the way. All the people that are watching, like again, it's not Magic's fault. He's just following my lead here, and I'm old, so I have an excuse. We completely missed a fight. So, and it's also one of the ones with the highest inside the distance line that people are going to play a lot. So I want to circle back to it. So Edmund Shabazian against Andre Muniz. So I have a little bit of experience with the Edmund Shabazian experience. I've been to a couple of UFC cards, and he's been on almost all of them. Like the first UFC card I ever went to, he got finished by, I think it was who it was at Madison Square Garden.
He has got finished by Brunson and by Gerald Mirchard.
No, it was Imavov.
Imavov, yeah. He was technical knockout with elbows, yeah.
Yep, that was the first one I saw. And then I actually, DraftKings sent me one of my perks. I went to the Apex, and I saw him get subbed by Mearshart, and I was literally 5 feet from him, and I saw the whole thing happening like a full minute before it happened. Like you just saw exactly the whole thing kind of developing. So he now is against Andre Muniz, and the Andre Muniz experience, I mean, for me, has been also kind of interesting in that the first time I had ever heard of him, he was taught he broke what's his name's arm or something like that.
Yeah, Jacare, yeah,
Right.
Ronaldo Sousa, Jacare. That was kind of crazy. Yeah, Jacare is like an all-time great grappler.
Yeah, and then the next thing I saw, he got actually outstruck and
that was bad. That was bad against Paul Craig. That was pathetic. Yeah,
Paul Craig, right? Then he won some freaking miracle, I guess. I think I had him here actually against Young Park, and then he got knocked out in the first round. So now he's against Shabazian, and Shabazian. I'll just show you the inside the distance line here. His inside the distance line is actually the biggest of everybody who's not Gautier. Like his inside the distance line is like minus, like let's get this right. It's like minus like 150, and that's like really, really big. So people are going to play him. So if you could talk me into Muniz somehow, it'd be pretty good. But don't do it just to make me happy. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, this is a trap. This has to be a trap. Like there is a world where Sebastian hits him with the right hand once, Muniz goes down and covers, and that's the fight. But if not, he has become a very conscious fighter, if that makes sense, in the sense of he used to be a wild finisher, go after everyone. Then he got a couple finish loses, and he has become this kind of guy where it's like, yeah, I'm powerful and fast, but I don't want any grappling going on because I'm not confident in my gas tank or my ground game. And he kind of pulls back, because Edmund Shabazian winning a decision against Andre Petroski last fight is not a very repeatable outcome, and he somehow won a decision there. Everybody that beats Petroski finishes him by accident almost. He's so fragile, and Edmund didn't. I guess the only way he covers is an early finish, because if not, it's going to be a low volume decision. And Muniz obviously needs grappling here, needs stop time. I don't know if he gets any takedowns. Shabazian is not very good on the ground, but he has a good first layer takedown defense. He has good hips. Muñiz is actually a better wrestler when fights get sloppy, kind of the park fight where he won a decision that you were saying was a miracle. He started chaining takedowns and it got sloppy and both were tired. I guess a Muñiz win here looks like that, unless he gets a random back take very early somehow. I think it will look like that.
So let's ask this question. So we've identified through this analysis 4 underdogs here. That's all what DFS really is finding, two underdogs that can win. Okay. So the ones that we looked at here are Abus, Brahimaj, Muniz, and Sandhagen. I dispense with Santos. You know what I mean? Like I just want people with upside. Who if you had to rank like these 4, like in, I don't want to say in confidence they're going to win because they're different odds, but in confidence
like perceived value.
Yeah,
I would say Sandhagen for sure.
And then probably the weakest might be which one?
Muñiz.
So what you guys can do, again, this is part of. Let me tell you how I've made like 99% of my money in my life, whether it be like my hedge fund or whatever, is figuring out how to compile information I receive from other people. Okay, really, like I generate my own information as well, but 99% of my wealth has been based on making decisions on how to incorporate and make use of other people's data and other people's information. And so what I like to do in situations like that, if I have like people I trust and I have these 4 underdogs and Sandhagen is whatever, I would, if we were building DFS lineups, I would say, okay, I would make a rule that I would probably have, at least 2 of these or at least 1 of these in all my lineups, and then just kind of run it the way I would run it. And then and make sure I get a certain amount of Sandhagen or something like that. And then I would go back and say, okay, who are my favorites? Well, I mean, who did we talk about? Well, Shabazian, you said that he could bonk him early. Like, who do you think's the best of the favorites we talked about? Like, between Pfeiffer, Gautier. I mean, you obviously like that.
Yeah, but I assume Gautier is going to be highly owned, right?
You think that, but again, because he's 9,800, it's very difficult to get him into lineups. So he might not be that highly owned because, again, you're going to need like a 60-second finish. But what's good about this, Magic, is that if you can get like 2 of these or 3 of these underdogs home somehow, then it doesn't matter what these prices are. Then you could just play Gautier, right? And play some other big favorites and kind of, you can even play, well, you can't play these guys together, but so again, it depends on what other underdogs you kind of like. But who do you like more? I'll give you one more. Who do you like between, if I had to rate, Soriano, Shabazian?
We have skipped a fight, right? Or is the fight cancelled? Isn't Farid Basharat fighting?
Well, we didn't talk about this one either, right? Yep, that's why we're the worst. So Basharat, again, I told everybody this could be a possible train wreck. Okay, that's because, hey, with good catch, Magic. So
I just realized because you were telling me which favorites you like a lot, and this guy's probably to be a school fuck them.
So let's talk about this one. So Basharat is typically like a DFS disaster because he gets his takedowns, but then he just does nothing. I mean, he literally does nothing. He has like no.
I think this guy is the truth. Like, I don't know if he's going to be champion because he's not a great athlete and he doesn't have a lot of power, but he's a really, really, really good fighter. He's super skilled, great grappler, great takedowns. He has fought a lot of people that have not big names in the UFC, but that are difficult fights, and he won clean and kind of easily. He beat Taylor Lapillus, super difficult fight. He beat Damon Blackshear, who is a great grappler, made it look easy. And when he fights someone that is not on his level grappling, he basically just molests them on the ground, like insta pass into instant submission. I think if he gets Gutierrez down, he probably can pass the guard at will. So yeah, that's interesting. But Gutierrez is going to run a marathon. I'm sure you are familiar with him. He's this guy that just leg kicks and runs.
This is a very interesting build here. So like, this is going to be actually pretty unique. Like if you played something like Gautier and Basharat together, and played kind of cheapos and built your lineups this way, and even if you got somehow like Zalal in or something like that, like this type of thing, like to you, this looks like kind of logical. Like Zalal can basically tool on Emmett and Basharat can tool on Gutierrez, and Gaudier can knock him out in the first round. These all look like reasonable underdogs. Like in the DFS world, like almost nobody would play this. Like nobody would play
I guess that's a weird lineup. But
so
if it hits, it's going to be very unique, right?
No, it doesn't matter. So if this hits, it's going to be unique. And you know what else? If this hits, we're gonna play this one. I think. Actually, I'm not allowed to say. DraftKings is not allowed. I can't actually say what I'm going to play. But let's say if I played something like that, and it happened to hit, Magic is getting another bonus. So I encourage everybody to if you don't follow him on Twitter already, it's if you're sweating the fights, he's a good listen during the fights to give kind of like last minute takes and kind of commentary throughout. If you're looking for political takes, I would say just kind of
I'll be on the timeline bitching about how they robbed me and everything and how bad I ran on a certain day.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a whiner, but that's okay. I mean, he'll get along just fine, and he's also pretty results or bet oriented with the decisions. Like if they go a certain way, usually the way that you were rooting against.
You know what I hate? When every time there is a 3-round fight, for example, that is close, like a 29-28 each way, that it is an acceptable decision, that it's not clear. People think if you give them to your guy, that's biased. And they want to pretend that they scored it for the other guy to be like morally superior or something. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we doing here?
I love when people do that. They're like, believe me, I had this guy and I don't think he won, or something like that. They're trying to be like above moral high ground.
I'm morally superior. No, I thought my guy won, and that's it. If you think differently, okay, maybe I'm biased. Sometimes it's okay.
All good. But listen, hey, you want to talk about where's your new podcast?
In the Arena MMA, we just did the first episode yesterday. Not yesterday, on Wednesday.
What's it called? In the Arena?
Yeah.
Is there?
I mean, the link is on my Twitter profile too. I changed it.
Oh, great. I'll pull this up for a second. We'll pull up his thing. We'll take a look at that because I gotta definitely take a look at that on that new message. Little. So just move up to Bucks. Magic. There you are. Oh, excellent. So this is the new podcast. Again, I'll miss the ones with Andrew, but look at this. All these new graphics and all. Look at this with the
my new co-host is actually good at it. Like this is his profession basically. He's Nick Davis. I don't know if you are familiar with him from Twitter. He bets MMA and talks about it. He's the producer of Theo Bon's show. So he's good at this.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to check this. How long is this? Oh, I thought that you were in like a 6-hour podcast or something.
Yeah.
When is the first one? Did you do it yesterday yet or no?
Yeah. We did it on Wednesday. It should appear there on videos, I think.
Well, I'm glad I didn't watch it first because then I would have been biased. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, good luck. Listen, good luck with that. And again, if you want more information on his picks and his services and stuff like that, his DMs are open, I guess. So you can reach out to him there and get more information. And I really appreciate him coming out here. And thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.